These are the components of the AOL Plaque kit. I'm about to stain these. So when you get your kit, these are the three pieces that you're going to want to stain. You'll note that you only have to stain the first side of this piece here and of this piece here, the middle piece. This piece, the back piece, you have to stain both sides of because you're going to see both the front and the back. Over here, I have the components, the 3D components, the two fleur-de-lis, the arrow, and the rays. Those are going to be spray painted black. So for the black spray paint, I use this Rust-Oleum flat enamel, and for the staining, I use this Varathane American Classic. But you can really use whatever colors or stains or paints that you'd like to use. So I'm going to go ahead and stain these, and then we'll be back for the next part. Okay, here are all the pieces. They are now stained, and the 3D elements have been painted black, flat with spray paint. And we're going to move on to how to glue together your kit. Now, one thing I'm going to note here is that each one of these pieces is made out of 1/4-inch wood. So if you look at them, they may not be, this one's pretty straight actually, but they may not be too straight. They may be bowed, and that's okay. When they all get glued together into a full 3/4-inch piece, they're going to be solid. So I'm going to show you next step of gluing the pieces together. All right, now I'm going to show you how to glue together your kit. So what I've got here are all the pieces. So when this arrives, what you're going to have is the top engraved plate, the middle piece, the bottom piece, and the 3D elements. These I got from Home Depot. They're 99 cents. They're clamps that we're going to use. You don't have to use these. You can just lay things flat and really stack books on top if you want, but I like to use these because they're easy and quick. And I'm using this wood glue. I noted this in the article as well. So what this is going to look like when it's done is we're going to have the bottom piece, the middle piece, and the top piece all glued together. We're going to do that at different stages. And then you can see here we've etched everything as to where it goes. So the ray is going to go here, the fleur-de-lis are going to go here, and the arrow is going to go here. Once that's all glued up, the remaining pieces, there's two holes noted here where you're going to screw in the clips for the actual arrow. So we're going to get to now gluing the first two pieces. So the first two pieces that you glue together are the back piece and the middle piece. And you noticed earlier in the video I said you only had to stain this back piece on the front and the back. You'll notice it's stained on the front, it's stained on the back, because you're going to see the perimeter after these two other pieces are mounted. And if you looked on the back, you would see the back. But the middle piece does not have any stain on the back, and neither does the top piece. And that's because once they're glued down to the top, you're not going to see that, and that's why we didn't have to stain that. So the technique that I like to use for gluing is to just put a little bit. You don't need a lot of glue. If you use a lot of glue, it's going to take a long time to dry, and the glue is going to sneak out from underneath the edges, and that's going to cause some cleanup problems. So you notice I'm not putting the glue very close to the edge. That's because when I clamp it down, this glue is going to spread out, and it's going to cover those areas. So if I put them too close, when it spreads, it's going to spread out from underneath, and then I'm going to have to do a lot more cleanup. So once we do that, I flip this over, lightly place it to where it's going to be, and I'm looking around the perimeter, just eyeballing the distance. And what I want to do is I want to see approximately that same distance all the way around the perimeter. And I also use these points as a gauge. I want these points to line up over here so that it's symmetrical. And then back here, I want this gap, this cutout to line up. So this looks pretty good to me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit for a moment. I'm going to let it tack up. If I try and clamp it down right now, this is going to slide around. So I'm going to let this tack up for about 3 minutes. We're going to cut the video and come back. I'm going to show you putting the next piece on. Alright, so you can see that I've put the clamps all around the edge, and there's no real right or wrong place to put these. I just kind of space them out. I have this sitting above just so that the clamps are not gonna sit here on the bottom. You can use anything. I'm using a candle here, but if you do, make sure it's not lit. You could put a can under there or a bowl or something. This is just keeping these off the bottom. Once this sets up, we're going to do the same type of gluing for the faceplate, and then we're going to reclamp it. When that's done, we'll move on to the 3D elements. Okay, so this has been about 3 minutes, and while it's not dry, it's tacked up enough that we can take these clamps off and we can put the faceplate on. The faceplate is the piece that has your personalized information when you ordered the kit. It's got your name, pack number, geographic location, and the date of the event. So we're going to do the same thing on the back with this glue, just a little bit in the key areas. And again, I'm not putting it too close to the edge because I don't want it to sneak out. Sometimes it does, and you can clean that up a little bit with a toothpick and a paper towel. And if that happens, I'll show you how to do that. That usually happens more on the 3D pieces than it does on the plaque piece. But that's about enough glue to keep it where it needs to be. Actually, I'm going to put a little bit more down here. So I'm going to do the same alignment that I did before. Here we're looking around the edge to make sure that it is uniform all the way around. I'm using the point over here to make sure it aligns with all the points. And then down here I'm using the gap to make sure that it is where it needs to be. I also look up here to make sure that this piece is centered with this piece. So that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to let this piece tack up. I'm going to clamp this as well. And when that's done in about 3 minutes, we're going to go ahead and put the 3D pieces on. Alright, so this is all set up. So now we have the primary plaque all ready to go. All 3 layers are glued together. And what we're going to do next is put the 3D elements on. The 3D elements are the ray, the arrow, and the 2 fleur-de-lis. What I do for this process is I just grab a scrap piece of cardboard. You can use a paper plate, something like that, and a regular toothpick. And I call this precision gluing. So I grab a couple dots of this, and I just put dots inside areas that are already marked for you on where these pieces are going to go. And just like we did when we put together the pieces of the plaque, you don't want to put these things too close to the edge of these lines, because when we press these pieces down, the glue could potentially seep out from underneath, and we don't want to do that. So while I'm doing this, we're going to cut away, and when we come back with the next section of the video, we're going to be placing the 3D elements on the plaque. Okay, so you can see I've got dabs and lines of glue everywhere. Again, you don't have to put too much. In fact, this is probably even a little bit more than you need to have. Now, it's almost impossible at this stage to have the glue not seep out from underneath the pieces because the pieces are so detailed. So as we put them on and you see that occur, I'm going to show you what I do to clean it up. I like to start with these fleur-de-lis because they give you the least amount of trouble. Just put it right there by the outline. Press those into place. Then I like to put the ray on. It's okay if you don't get it in the right spot right away. You can move it around a little bit until it comes within the lines. Just give it a little bit of pressure. And you can see some of it's sneaking out from under here, so we're going to clean that up in a bit. And if any of these pieces is going to give you trouble, it's going to be the arrow, because it's the thinnest piece out of all of them, and it's the longest. So if it's at all bowed, you're going to want to hold it down until it tacks up. And one of the final stages here is that we're going to put some weight on top of the plaque, or we're going to flip the plaque upside down and put some weight on the back, and that's going to really hold everything in place. So once I get all the elements in place, I just press down with my palm, get them all lined up okay, and here sometimes I'll turn it over, put it face down, and give it some pressure on the back. I'm putting a substantial amount of pressure here. this is going to create some of the glue squish that we talked about. It's going to come out from underneath some of the pieces, and then I'm going to show you how we clean that up. Alright, so that's pretty good. Alright, so now you see under here there's some issue with the glue. So I've got a piece of paper towel. You can use a napkin, a paper towel, and a toothpick, and just run that along the edge. Cleans up the glue nicely. Here's some underneath the arrow. I'm going to run that here, cleans it up nicely. So I just kind of tilt it like this, and wherever I see trouble with the glue sticking out, I put the paper towel and I use the point of the toothpick and I clean it up. So this is going to be ready now. I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to put a board on top of it and give it a little weight, let it sit overnight so that everything sets up nicely. Tomorrow I'll show you how we do the final piece of putting in the arrow clips. Okay, so I let this plaque sit overnight. Where we last left off, we had glued everything up, and as you can see, it looks fantastic. It's ready for the final piece. Now, one of the things that you didn't see on camera is optional. I used this clear matte paint, and I just gave it a coat on top. I like the way that that looks. I think it ties everything together, kind of smooths out any of the imperfections in the wood or the paint, but it's not necessary to do. It's just an option. So the last part of this is we're going to put these into place. So in every kit you have 2 of these clamps and 2 of these small Phillips head screws. These are the arrow clamps, the arrow clips that will hold the arrow. There's 2 pilot hole marks here. I like to pre-drill these. You don't have to. I do it just in case at this stage in the plaque you don't want to have a split in the wood, so I think just to be safe I like to drill it. But I have put together plaques in a hurry where I've just put the screws in and it was fine. Another benefit of drilling the pilot hole is that when you sink the screw in, it really holds it from slipping around. So I have a very, very fine tip on this drill. If you notice, the diameter of this screw is pretty little, so you don't want to have something that's too big, otherwise the screw won't be effective. So what I do is I just kind of line this up and I do a little bit to get it started, blow the dust away, and that's it. Just a tiny hole to get things started, and your kit will come with those marked and in place. So I take a Phillips head screwdriver, I put the screw on the end, I take one of these clips and I push the screw through. Then I put the screw in the hole like that, and then I gently screw that down. Before I tighten it up, I just kind of eyeball it. I want to make sure that it's horizontal and straight, and then I just give it a little bit of an extra twist, and it's there. Don't overdo that. You don't want to strip that screw. You want it to catch in the wood real nice. So I'm going to take that screw, push it through. I'm going to line that up, and going to make sure it is even with the other one. Tighten that down a little bit. Again, I'm not overdoing it, but snug enough that this doesn't twist. And the plaque is complete. That's how you finish your kit. Now, when you are ready to display this, you're going to take your, now this is a standard arrow, but you'll have the official Arrow of Light arrow kit that you get at the scouting store, and you just place this where you like it and you push it in, and it'll snap right in there and it'll be ready for you. So that's how you put together your Arrow of Light plaque kit.